Hey everybody, this is Chris DeFurio with Keys to the Shop. I hope you're having a great week this week. Welcome to another edition of a Shift Break episode. And today's just going to be a real quick one. I want to talk about something that I think is a really critical component of great service in your cafe. And it has to do with how attentive we are to people approaching the bar. Now, one of the things that we've talked about on the show before is that we have to care for the guest's experience the entire time that they're in the cafe. This is something that we can always improve in, but one of the ways that we can improve it the most is resisting the urge to be hyper-focused on things behind the bar at the detriment of things on the other side of the bar, and in particular, the needs of people. Now, one of the main skills that I want to address here is the skill of stopping our conversations with each other, be they topics that are related to the business or not, right away and addressing customers' needs. And it's not enough to just do it when somebody approaches the bar. It's best when we're always looking out for somebody approaching the bar, just like we would if somebody comes into the cafe. It kind of signals us that we should wrap up what we're doing. Conversations are the same thing. What ends up happening when we don't have this kind of vigilance and discipline to just cut the conversation off, dead stop right there, is we end up making the customer feel like they're interrupting something. And this is something that I've witnessed and something I've participated in. And, it depends on the mood you're in and the time. If you're just not about customer service at that moment and you're in a great conversation, which to you is the best moment of the shift, you're less likely to stop that conversation to address the customer. But as a result, the customer is less likely to feel like the bar is an approachable place, or if for that matter, the cafe. Now, what ends up happening when we're kind of half into the idea of cutting our conversation off and half not is we end up sort of walking sideways with our head over our shoulder, finishing the conversation anyway with our coworker while the customer is standing there and listening to this interaction. And a lot of times it kind of goes something like this. The customer walks up to the bar, and as you're doing that kind of weird over-the-shoulder sideways walk, you say something like, "Yeah, exactly my point. But I'll tell you in a second. I'll tell you in a second. Okay. Hey, how's it going today? What can we get you?" Now, the customer heard all of that. And my argument here is that that first part set the tone for the next part. You've undone any kind of genuine hospitality that you could probably accomplish in that moment, simply by making them feel as though they've interrupted a conversation. Being aware of how we present ourselves includes how we present our voices, even when our voices aren't directed toward the customer. One of the main ways that we can show customers that we are happy to have them in the cafe is to make sure that we are putting them as our top priority. So this goes for managers too. Managers, if you have something to share with your employees and it's critical, but you see a customer approaching, it's not as critical as that customer having somebody be there to welcome them at the bar. It's not as critical as that. And it can wait. And you can set an example by turning around and walking away and addressing the customer. You don't even have to excuse yourself from the conversation. If you all sit down and agree, hey, when a customer comes up or we see somebody starting to come up, I'm just going to walk away. And it's nothing personal. It's not. It's understood between the two parties. Yes, okay, one of us at least remembered we're supposed to stop talking about this. Even if the other one doesn't, they'll remember as soon as you do it. So if everyone's on board with it, you can all hold each other accountable. Stop your conversations. Do it as soon as you can when you know somebody is approaching the register, and be present with that person. Make the bar an accessible place, in a place where people feel welcome, even if they're just coming up to ask about where to get water cups or if they can bring their dog in or what the Wi-Fi password is. So That's a little bit of a tip from me. I think I've seen it work very, very well. It's so hard to do, especially when you like the people you work with and you have interesting things to talk about. It takes some discipline, but if you're all on the same page and holding each other accountable for it, I think you're going to find it easier to do, and it makes a big difference in how people experience your cafe and the hospitality in your cafe. So that's it. Just a quick one for you today. I hope this episode was helpful and the rest of your week goes fantastically. I will see you here next week on another episode of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.